Why Darth Vader was so weak. In fact, he was one of the weakest Sith Lords of all time. Vader wasn't the unstoppable monster everyone thinks he was. Underneath that mask was a man in constant pain, both physically and emotionally. Now, I know what you're thinking, so listen and watch the whole video to understand why Lord Vader was actually weak. And welcome back to another video. I hope you guys enjoy. Darth Vader was weak not because of his raw strength and not because of his strong force abilities. He was weak because of his emotions. Darth Vader let his emotions control him instead of controlling them. In a man's life, having emotional control is very important. Obi-Wan often told Anakin to be mindful of his emotions, but Anakin hardly ever could. He lacked that trait and constantly focused on what he lost physically, mentally, and emotionally. Anakin often worried a lot as well, even of things out of his control. From the moment Anakin was discovered on Tatooine, his emotional vulnerabilities were apparent. As a slave boy, he had already experienced loss and hardship, which planted seeds of fear and anger early on. When Qui-Gon Jinn brought him to the Jedi Council, Yoda sensed his fear, warning that it could lead to the dark side. But the Jedi, in their rigid ways, didn't address it properly. After losing to Obi-Wan on Mustafar, Anakin lost everything: limbs, Padme, and his purpose. He got cooked well done like a steak. This caused him to be physically weaker because now he was crippled. Vader was slower, less agile, and he even lost 60% of his force potential. Anakin's midichlorian count was the highest ever recorded, over 20,000, surpassing even Yoda's. But after his injuries, much of that potential was squandered due to his cybernetic replacements, which interfered with its connection to the Force. The only thing that kept Vader alive and going was his hate and to serve Palpatine. This ultimately chained him. The moment Anakin burned, Vader was truly born, but what survived was just a fraction of what he could have been. Darth Vader's emotions always controlled him. The first time Anakin went to Coruscant as a young boy, he had fear in him. As a child, you may look past it and think, he has a lot to learn, and he'll turn out fine. But he was no normal boy. He was the chosen one. Teaching Anakin emotional control should have been the Jedi's #1 priority. But instead, they just gave him tips, tricks, and lectures. For example, after the death of his mother Shmi in Attack of the Clones, Anakin's rage led him to slaughter an entire Tusken Raider camp, including women and children. This was a clear sign of emotional instability. So basically, Anakin would get revenge and crash out, especially if it seems reasonable to him. Yet, the Jedi pretty much brushed off his first crash out. The Jedi barely even adjusted beyond a stern talking to from Yoda. Moments like these showed how unchecked emotions were building up inside of the young Skywalker. The only two Jedi who were actually qualified to train Annie were Qui-Gon Jinn and Mace Windu. Unfortunately, Qui-Gon died, and Mace Windu never really liked Anakin enough to open up to him and work with him. Qui-Gon, with his maverick approach to the Force, might have taught Anakin to balance his emotions rather than suppress them. Mace, being a master of Vapad, a lightsaber form that channels inner darkness, could have helped Anakin harness his anger without letting it consume him. But you might be thinking, I thought this was a discussion about Darth Vader, so why bring up young Anakin and the Jedi? Well, because this plays into Vader. His emotions have always been his biggest issue. They got worse over time as the Jedi continued to fail him. So when Anakin turned and lost everything, all he had were even deeper negative emotions, which made him weak as a whole. Darth Vader's emotions would often control his decision making instead of logic. He led by fear, which is the same thing that doomed him. If you disagree with Vader, he'd kill you. If you made him mad, he'd kill you. If you didn't have answers, he'd kill you. If you made mistakes, he'd kill you, etc. You get the point. Take Admiral Ozzo for example from The Empire Strikes Back. Vader force-choked him to death over a view screen simply for coming out of hyperspace too close to Hoth, alerting the rebels. Or Captain Needa, who apologized for losing the Millennium Falcon and was promptly killed. These weren't strategic decisions. These were emotional outbursts that likely cost the Empire valuable officers. Fear was all too familiar to Vader. That's all he knew. Darth Vader often acted off impulse or rage, not reason. His anger leads to reckless actions and clouded judgment. His fear causes hesitation or running from responsibility. His grief causes withdrawals from purpose or reality. His hatred narrows his vision and blinds him to consequences. Sidious was another thing that controlled Vader. Because Darth Vader couldn't control his emotions, he became easily manipulated. Sidious knew this, so he used it to his advantage. And plus, the suit that Sidious made for Vader wasn't just armor, it was punishment. It limited him more than it protected him. In detail, the suit was intentionally designed with outdated technology. It caused constant pain for poorly fitted prosthetics, and needles poking Vader all the time. This made Vader vulnerable to force lightning, which was Sidious' specialty. And even the helmet optics limited his peripheral vision. The mechanics mechanical breathing was loud and distracting, making stealth difficult and meditation nearly impossible. If Vader wanted to be stealthy or sneak around maybe, but that's not really his type of style, but it still would make it difficult if he ever chose to do so. Vader couldn't feel the Force the same. He experienced constant pain, mechanical breathing, and disrupted meditation. So this kept Darth Vader weaker than his master. Sidious intentionally designed the suit to keep him dependent. Sidious didn't want a powerful apprentice. He wanted a strong, intimidating weapon that would listen to his every command. The mastermind Emperor knew a person who can't control their emotions is easy to provoke or manipulate. So Sidious could trigger Vader's anger or fear to steer his actions anytime he wanted. For instance, in Revenge of the Sith, Sidious preyed on Anakin's fear of losing Padme by promising the power to cheat death, leading to Anakin's betrayal of the Jedi. This made Vader dangerous, but also easy to beat if Vader ever faced the right opponent, like Sidious. But Vader's real true weakness wasn't his armor, it was his heart. He couldn't let go of the past. He still loved Padme. His hate for Obi-Wan and guilt over Ahsoka kept him trapped in emotional loops. In the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, we see Vader's obsession with hunting down his former master, driven by unresolved rage from Mustafar. And with Ahsoka and Rebels, their confrontation reveals his lingering regret over letting her leave the Order, which he partially blames himself for. Even when Vader killed Jedi, every kill was an attempt to silence the voice of Anakin Skywalker, but it never seemed to really work. So you see, Vader was a weak, emotional man. I believe if Anakin was more mindful of the visions he had about Padme's death, it wouldn't have came true. The visions could have been a lesson that the Force was trying to teach Anakin about attachment. The fear of loss, when left unchecked, becomes the path to darkness. The fear of losing his wife drove Anakin to fall and make weak decisions out of emotion instead of controlling himself and thinking logically. Yoda warned Anakin. He said, train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. But Anakin couldn't heed that advice, leading to his downfall. And a lot of people actually say that wasn't good advice. And maybe it wasn't the best advice, but it was the true advice. He was literally telling him what he needed to do. Yes, he could have comforted him more. Yes, he could have tried to help even more. But Yoda is a great and wise master. So maybe that was just really Yoda's best advice in that moment that he really felt would help Anakin. But that's up for debate. You guys let me know in the comments if that was really great advice or if you think he could have gave him better advice. A lot of people may say, well, Anakin is a human, so having emotions is natural. Yes, I agree. But his weakness comes from dependence on emotion and not discipline. Strength isn't about never feeling emotions, it's about feeling them fully but staying in control. A man without control becomes a slave to emotion rather than its master. That can make Vader unreliable, unpredictable, and easy to break. Just like when Anakin cut off Mace Windu's hand to save Palpatine because he felt like he needed Palpatine to save Padme. Anakin betraying Mace was unexpected to him. Mace didn't think Anakin would just quickly slice off his hand to protect the Sith Lord. So negative emotions drain mental and physical energy. When emotions run unchecked, the mind becomes stuck in a loop of anger, guilt, fear, or sadness, which is how Vader was every day. This is why Darth Vader could barely sleep. He could never focus on his physical health and mental clarity. He lost strength, not just mentally, but spiritually and physically. In the comments, like Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, we see him struggling with these issues constantly, hunted by visions of the past which sap his energy and focus. So yes, emotions are normal. It's what makes us human. But Darth Vader let his emotions turn into self-destruction instead of power. Emotions can be fuel or poison without emotional intelligence. So for Vader, it was poison. His anger turned into rage, not determination. His fear turned into paralysis, not caution. His grief turned into despair, not wisdom. His pain turned into hate, not growth. So Vader suffered from all these things daily, which made him weak and kept him a slave to his master, never being able to defeat him. Darth Vader never truly overthrew Sidious because he was afraid, not of dying, but of being alone. He feared losing Sidious because he didn't want to be alone. It was the last thing he really felt like he had, and he felt like serving Sidious was his purpose. In the end, even in his darkest moments, that fear held him back from fulfilling the Sith rule of two, where the apprentice overthrows the master. Luke exposes that weakness in Return of the Jedi. Ironically, when he finally acted against Sidious, it wasn't out of Sith strength, it was out of love. Vader's final act wasn't domination, it was redemption. In that pivotal scene, as Sidious tortured Luke with Force lightning, Vader watched his son suffer, and the love he thought was buried resurfaced. He sacrificed himself to save Luke, throwing Sidious down the reactor shaft, but at the cost of his own life due to his suit's vulnerability. That's not the ending of a powerful Sith, it's the ending of a broken man who remembered who he really was. Darth Vader wasn't the galaxy's most powerful Sith, he was its most tragic one. He had the potential to be the strongest Force user ever, but his pain made him weak, and his love made him human. Maybe that's why we love Darth Vader so much, because deep down, we we can relate to its weaknesses. And just to compare, look at other Sith like Darth Revan and Darth Bane, who mastered their emotions to achieve greater power. Vader, trapped by his emotions, never reached those heights. His story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked emotions, both in the Star Wars universe and in our own lives. Drop tragedy in the comments if you made it this far. Like the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. I enjoyed making this video, and I enjoyed giving out a different viewpoint that most people probably didn't think about or see anyone ever talk about. Let me know what videos y'all want me to do next in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless. I love you guys, and I'm gone.